This is my journey of becoming a millionaire from $100. I'm going to go over all the ways that I learned to make money and which ones I think are the best, obviously, which is Amazon FBA. But I'll show you guys like practically how you can start with nothing and make it happen, because that's what I did. I'm confident that this can work. So by sharing my experience, hopefully you guys can see some patterns. We're going to go visually over everything that I did going from 100 to a million. And here's the thing that's very interesting and like some motivation here. It took me 1,000 days to go from 100 to a million. And then it took 15 days to make my next million. And then it took me 5 days to make my next million. It's exponential. And as you get these skills and as you grow over time, it just becomes easier and easier. That beginning part is hard, and that's where most people fail. But if I share my way and what I did, maybe, I think you guys could do it, see what it actually looks like. It doesn't go just up like that. It takes time. So let's go over it. It all started with the aha moment. Now, what was the aha moment? It was the moment that I discovered that a copper penny is worth more than a penny. So way back early when I was in college, the price of copper was about $4.45, around here. Let's just call it $4. That means for every 10,000 pennies, so for every $100, I essentially, if you were to melt it down, it would actually be worth $260. This was just a crazy thing. So I realized wow, it's worth more. So I would actually buy pennies from the bank and then sort them out and then sell them for more to people online. I started going to banks, buying just thousands and thousands of dollars of pennies, and I actually had a machine that would sort them all out. Let me show that. So we'd buy pennies, get them like this, put them in a machine like this, and then you turn it on, and all of a sudden it would just start sorting them out for you. Put all the copper ones into one pile and the ones that weren't, because essentially in 1982, the cost of a penny started to cost a lot. So they moved to a cheaper metal. So all the pennies before 1982 are worth more than they actually are worth on face value. So this was my first introduction to flipping. There was no risk of loss, because if I could go and buy something, I was guaranteed to have the pennies still. So all I would lose was my time. That's obviously valuable, but I couldn't lose money. And this was a fundamental concept of what I've done with everything. I always choose opportunities where there's no risk of loss, or the risk of loss is so little compared to the amount of gain. And that's how I've been able to grow and become a millionaire in just a couple of years. So things were going great, selling the pennies, making money. But this is where I almost didn't make it. So I thought, wow, I'm making money with these pennies, but I want something that's more scalable, or what else could I sell? And then I went on to Alibaba. This is when I first found out about Alibaba, and I started to import things. Unfortunately, I was importing apparently counterfeit Beats headphones, and I got taken down pretty quick and banned from eBay for life, and that put an end to the penny business. So I was looking on Alibaba, and you've got to be careful when you're looking at suppliers to make sure that they have the real thing. At that point in my entrepreneurial career, I thought, oh, okay, you could just go and buy it and make some money. Lesson learned pretty quick and painfully. So don't sell counterfeits or anything that seems too good to be true, because it always is. All good things take hard work to make money. Then I took a long rest and pretty much gave up selling online. But then in 2013, there is homecoming every year for colleges in the United States, and it's a huge event, and everybody buys t-shirts for it. And I saw a guy the previous year just make so much money selling these t-shirts, and this is my first introduction to seasonality. And then I said, all right, I can make better t-shirts, or I could make different t-shirts and then go ahead and do that, because there's only like 2 t-shirts on the market. Decided to go get some t-shirts made, found a supplier who was local, and then I decided, well, we need to get some good designs here, because it's all about the design and the phrase. So we went on Google, looked up popular quotes and funny quotes, and then I posted in a Facebook group for my college and said, hey, I need a designer. There was this entrepreneurial designer who's always posting and selling stuff. I said, hey, let's do this. So I went to her house, got the designs done, and they were great. She makes amazing designs. She's also now a professional mermaid. So if you're ever in the Miami area and you need a professional mermaid, there's your option. But anyways, unfortunately, these t-shirts ended up getting on the news because apparently they were controversial in some people's eyes, which I didn't believe so. But anyways, regardless, got on the news. Dean of Students was, you need to take these down. Otherwise, I'm going to email this to all your potential future employers and all your professors. That was bad, and blackmail, not legal. Anyways, you don't take every fight in entrepreneurship. You just bow down sometimes. So I took a year off entrepreneurship. So 2014 came around and I said, okay, t-shirts again. Let's go. Maybe I'll get it right this time. Did it completely differently. We made sure not to make it controversial. Unfortunately, there's this thing called copyright and trademark law. And this is where I got to learn this lesson extremely well. Don't infringe on other people's intellectual property. This happened to us, and we made some t-shirts with a logo or a parody of a logo. Essentially, we took an acronym, so a 4-letter word, and made it into something that it wasn't. And this is a massive national trademark. And it was technically legal under fair use, but they threatened us with lawyers, and they sent the cops to my house, and then they basically took the shirts and burned them. And so I could have fought this and won. But yet again, you have to let go sometimes. Just because you're right doesn't mean a fight is worth, but later you'll see that there are fights that are worth fighting. Regardless, they took my shirts, burned them, and then it was 4 days before homecoming, and I had to deliver hundreds of t-shirts to people. So luckily, I found a guy who overnight was able to make all the new t-shirts without that logo, but they were very sad looking comparatively to the original one, and I just had to hand out hundreds of t-shirts to sad college students. That was an unfortunate circumstance. It was pretty clear to me the world, gods, whatever you believe in, they did not want me to start a t-shirt business. So I gave up on t-shirt businesses completely after that, rightfully so. So I was not having very good luck and almost gave up. But luckily, I, got my girlfriend, and so she got me a new eBay account because I could do it under her name. So that was great. She's my wife now. Thank you, Jenna. And then I was back up and going, and I went to the surplus store at my university, and this is where I found out about my iMac business, which you'll learn about later. Basically, I would go and I got these screens. They're really old iMac screens, but I'll get them for $50 or $100 and sell them for several hundreds. And I just stumbled across one, looked it up on eBay, and it's like, wow, there's some money to be made here. So now I was able to buy and sell things from the surplus store and make money. And at the same time, I had those video games that I got and then sold those. Then I was able to realize, hey, there's some money to be made here. So I started to look for more ways to get video games and for more surplus stores to go to. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find any more video games when going around to these garage sales, and garage sales were kind of one and go. So what I ended up doing was, okay, these are garage sales. What about online garage sales, which eBay is essentially? So I went on to eBay and I started to look at where people would be selling a whole bunch of video games. And then I would go and see what each individual game would sell for. And I realized that when people would sell all of these at once, it would go for a lot cheaper than if they were sold out individually. And then that's when I said, well, I'm going to start buying these if I can just look at what each one is worth and then find a way to quickly calculate what it's worth, then I could bid and just buy it at a price that I could make money. And my whole goal was to make $20 an hour. That was the dream, because that would pay me what an internship would pay me. Or, if I could make $20 an hour, I was super jacked. Well, luckily, I was able to find some. As you guys can see here, I've just got video games on video games on video games. And then I started to get smarter with it over time. So I found this website where basically they graphed out the historical average selling price of each Nintendo 64 game across all the different platforms in the world. And this was amazing because I didn't have to do the work anymore. So basically, I just copied the price from every single one of them, and then I made a little program that helped me automatically calculate. Now, it's not that I was able to do this because I have programming skills. This could have been done easily in Excel or something else, and it probably would have actually made my life a whole lot easier. But that was what I did at that time, and it worked. We had a lot of video games. My entire basement got filled up with these video games. So we were making over $20 an hour doing it. Then I started to get smarter with it. And I realized this interesting fact that the price that people were willing to pay was literally had to do with one, you need to get a click to get a buy. And then the presentation of the product in the listing actually affected what price they would buy it at. So I was able to charge more than everybody else by just presenting my products much better than everybody else was. And obviously the ones that look better, people are going to buy. Was also doing the surplus store as I was doing the video games. You guys can see here, just a crazy amount of surplus products. And some of these were pretty interesting. I would buy these printers here. I would buy this for $5 and sell it for $500. It was phenomenal. And so there's always opportunities when going to government surplus stores, university surplus stores, garage sales, and just basically anywhere where the people just want to get rid of it and don't care. All right, so selling on eBay was great. I was making money and it was neat, but then it was time for me to graduate and get a job. So this was right at the end of my college career, and then now I had to go find a job. But my wife and I decided we wanted to go do one final trip, traveling the world, going to Ecuador and South America, really cool places. Let's just go have one bang before we have to go into the real world and go get a job, which none of us wanted to do, but we thought we had to do that. And basically, I had this clock right here, okay? I don't remember where I got this clock, but it came to the point where we were about to go to Ecuador and going out of the country. Then it was, okay, well, how do I ship this when I'm not there? And I wanted to just sell it to make more money to spend in Ecuador. So at the last minute, I ended up throwing it on Amazon. And I learned about Fulfilled by Amazon. That's where I learned about Amazon. It was by necessity of how do I ship this when I'm not there? And that completely changed my life. Going and traveling to South America was probably one of the most important things I've ever done in my life, because it gave me time to get away from everything and think about what is truly important in life. There's a lot of poverty down in certain parts of Ecuador. And what was really interesting was we went to this one town in the mountains. All these people had these interesting mountain hats on. I can't even describe them. Maybe we could find it. If not, just imagine these crazy hats. Anyways, when we were there, these people had nothing, but they were probably the happiest people that I had ever seen. And that really inspired me. American society, it's kind of about status and things and fame, and it's so not about what's actually important. And as I was living with not much money and just backpacking and being around poverty and seeing happy people, it was really inspiring to me. I said, I want to optimize my life for what's going to make me happy, because I had the health circumstances, if you guys haven't known about that, where I had a heart condition and it was not looking good. So I didn't know how long I was going to live. It could be 5, 10 years, or, could I live forever? It was a very real circumstance that my heart was enlarging and I didn't know how long, I might die at 30 was essentially what my mentality that I had. And because of that, and going to South America, and I had this narrow opportunity in my life, and very happy that I took it. So essentially, while I was in South America, I made my first sale on Amazon with Amazon FBA. And that changed everything, because I was now traveling the world, not needing much. I mean, yeah, I made one sale, maybe $20, but it was the proof of concept that you don't need money to be happy. You can go do what you want, and you could technically be selling stuff anywhere in the world, doing anything. I said, okay, well, I wish I could do this, but I don't know really how to get started or if it's possible still. But the whole time I was regretting going back home because I had to go get a job then, because that's what my parents wanted me to do after college. Came back home from Ecuador, had no money. But I now had a little bit of time because my wife was applying for graduate school and we might have to move. So I had a couple of months that I could tell my parents I was training. And so I was learning data science, machine learning, some other skills to make it look like I was, doing something other than getting a job. I actually had a couple of job interviews, and luckily I got declined for those, because if I would have got accepted to those, I would have taken it and completely changed my life. Luckily, they didn't like me. I was too out there for them. That's good though. So I had graduated, and then my friend, I went back to see him at college because it was a surplus store again. So I went there with the little money that I had and got some more stuff to sell. And then I went over to his house and he said, whoa, check out this Reddit post that I saw. And I was like, what is Reddit? Anyways, this is all he did all day, every day. He's a genius guy. He just never takes action on his ideas. But this one, he's like, hey, let's do this. Essentially, Radio Shack was going out of business, which was the world's largest retailer. They had over 5,000 locations. So they were going out of business, and there was this post and it said 90% off. And I had seen and flipped stuff in the past, and I said, well, if I can get something for 10% of the price and I can see that it sells on the internet, then there's no risk, basically. Yeah, maybe it'll go bad every once in a while, but I could maybe multiply my money by 5 or more on some of these things. So I said, okay, let's go to a Radio Shack. So I went to that first Radio Shack, bought one item. So I sent it into Amazon and it sold immediately. And so about 2 weeks, I had my money back plus more. And then I was saying, I went to the stores and they had these bigger sales. And I was like, wow, there's so much money to be made here. And then I basically said, okay, well, this is a pretty much no risk. And if it does go bad, whatever. So I just opened up as many credit cards as I could and just started buying and selling stuff. And I made a whole bunch of money, probably $10,000 in my first couple of weeks there. And then the stores were done going out of business. But luckily, the stores, they had a slow death. It wasn't that they just bottomed out. It was over the course of 2 years that they were closing different locations of stores. So basically, I was able to go take all these credit cards, buy a bunch of product, and then get the items and then send them into Amazon, sell it, get my money back. And then by that time, there'd be another round of Radio Shacks that were going out of business. It was wonderful. So I ended up doing this and opened up more credit cards, then went across the entire nation because like I saw an opportunity. And we see an amazing opportunity with just crazy output and very little risk. This was wonderful, and I was making good money from Radio Shack, but there would be a big downtime in between when the stores would go out of business, and I had sent everything in to Amazon, so I had time to do other stuff. And then I knew these surplus stores existed, so I started to go to surplus stores. So I would go from a Radio Shack to a surplus store, and then go and do that, and then the Radio Shacks go out of business again, and I'll get my money back, and then I'll go back to doing more Radio Shacks. It was just growing my money pretty quickly. It was amazing. I made over $100,000 my first year doing this, and which was, enough to live and do what I wanted. And then I just kept finding more and more opportunities. So their surplus stores worked, but I said, what about government surplus stores? If a university is inefficient, then I bet the government is even more inefficient because it's the government. Okay, so this was great. And I was doing that and then just kept doing this process back and forth. But then basically I was seeing a lot more return on my time when I was doing the Radio Shacks. And also what I was doing was while I would go to these Radio Shacks across the country, I walked into a Walmart and then I said, well, what if I go to this Walmart and I don't know, maybe they have stuff for sale too, just like Radio Shack did. And I found that, yeah, they did. I could make money doing that too. And then there's also this store called Shopco that the same thing existed. So I started to go to these Shopcos, which nobody goes to. They're actually going out of business right now. So if somebody is in the United States and wants to make money, go to the Shopcos. You could do what I did with Radio Shack. Pretty easy. It was my hidden gem though, because it's kind of in the Midwest and nobody would go to them and nobody would buy the stuff and they would mark stuff down extremely cheap. Anyways, I was doing that and learning all these different ways to make money. And eventually it became not worth my time to do these surplus stores or these government auctions. And I knew that it wasn't sustainable, or it was sustainable, but I could never grow bigger as a business person if I was required to just go and get whatever these surplus stores had. So what I ended up doing then was I learned that you could get these Apple computers from them and buy and sell them. So I was doing that, and that was the first item that I ever bought and sold from one. Then I had an amazing opportunity. They're selling hundreds of computers at a government auction, okay? And I'd planned this out for weeks because nobody goes on these websites. Basically, just give away stuff for free. And you can go and bid online. You can actually bid online without a credit card. Pretty poor idea by them. Regardless, I was going to bid, 15 seconds left. Planned this out for weeks. It was 15, 14, 13. I type in the amount that I want to bid. Great, I'm going to get computers for $1 a piece. And right as I'm about to put in my bid, it's down to like 5 seconds or so, all of a sudden boom, okay, there's this giant explosion and everything goes out. And I was like, what the heck just happened? I just started swearing. And it turns out that somebody ran into the power transformer, the power plant right by my house with their car, in the middle of the day. And then that brought out the power for the whole area. And that was actually the end of my surplus career. The t-shirts, it's clear to me that the world did not want me to go on with t-shirts anymore. And then same with the surplus stores. I could have kept going and doing it, but I decided to take that and move on. So I took that same idea that I did with the video games and I said, what if I could just get computers online? And that's when I learned, I can start to do the same sourcing with eBay for computers. I knew about computers because I was just playing with them. And so I was able to just source these and sell them for a lot more. I could buy them for $200 and sell them for $550. But why? Because things sell for more on Amazon than they do on eBay. This is the greatest thing. I'd literally buy the same listing on eBay that looked bad and then sell it on Amazon and make it look good. And that was it. That was the model. And I made just a crazy amount of money doing this. I could make several $100,000 a year just buying and flipping these computers. And so I was doing that for a long time. Buying and selling Apple computers was working. Radio Shacks were working. But then over time, basically my wife got tired of packing and dealing with all these computers, and I just had computer parts all around my house because some of them would break. And then Radio Shacks eventually started to run out of locations. So then what I thought was, well, instead of going around the nation, could I just ask Radio Shack to sell me their stuff in bulk? And that's when I got introduced to wholesale. So basically they would say, okay, yeah, let's just send it all to Brock. And then I was buying their stuff and then selling it as an authorized distributor. This is wonderful. So there's opportunity to make money on Amazon by just flipping stuff, or you can become a wholesaler. That was where I got introduced to wholesale. This was working great, but they only had so many products that I could buy and sell. So what I started to do was go online then. And this is called online arbitrage, where I would start to source products online, then sell them for more. So basically you could go buy stuff on Target or Walmart or other online stores and then sell it on Amazon for a higher price. Not every product, actually almost all products won't make money, but you just need to find one that makes money, and that's what I did. And I found a couple of them, and it made a lot of money. Then I realized, well, what about Black Friday in the United States? Europe, it's called Boxing Day. I don't understand that. Anyways, there's Singles Day in China. Wherever you are, there's some type of event where there's huge sales for the year. And I decided to go all out, just like I did with Radio Shack, because it was essentially another opportunity where there was no risk of loss, because I could just return the item. That was wonderful. And the upside was I could sell it for more. So I ended up going all out, made all these email addresses, and I ended up making $30,000 in one Black Friday in a course of a week, just buying and selling the Christmas deals. And that was where I really made a lot of money with online arbitrage. And that was wonderful. But what happened was Kohl's didn't like that. Kohl's is a retailer in the US. And I started to get blacklisted from a lot of places. Then at that same time, Radio Shack ran out of stores. And then they stopped doing wholesale with me. At about 2:30 in the morning, one of the advisors of the board, basically, who's like this hedge fund guy who's got hundreds of millions of dollars, emailed me and said, just basically threatened to sue me. Say, what you're doing is illegal. Well, the CEO of the company is signing off on these orders, and I'm dealing with your company or whatever. Basically, he didn't like that I was selling on Amazon, because they had tried to start selling on Amazon, okay? And basically, on Amazon, whoever's the cheapest price wins the buy box. I had an auto repricer. So basically, it would look at the price every couple minutes. If your competition was lower than you, it would lower it. And they didn't have an automatic repricer. So basically, Radio Shack couldn't sell anything on Amazon, and I was outselling them. So they had a meeting. They all got together from around the country, and they're like, okay, who is this guy? Who's this Brock Johnson, whatever? What's going on? And then they were really mad at me, but I sent a great email. And instead of threatening to sue me, they said, okay, well, we're not happy with you, but we might need your help. So this is another thing that you can do. And I almost did, but I turned down because I ran into a much better opportunity. You could do consulting. Radio Shack was the world's largest retailer by number of stores, and they were coming to me and asking me for help. I just knew how to buy and sell their stuff on Amazon. This was wonderful. I didn't actually know that much about Amazon at this time. I just knew a lot about what things could sell for versus what I bought them for. And there's tools that can just help you to see how much something sells for. Really easy. So that's all that I knew, but I still knew more than them. You just need to know a little bit more than the other person to actually provide value and help with them. So basically, we had a consulting contract made up that was going to be very, very lucrative, but I didn't want to devote my entire life to helping out Radio Shack. That wasn't my passion and everything. I wanted to go travel and make my own life. I didn't want to be forced to live somebody else's life. So we ended up not finishing the contract agreement because they went bankrupt the second time, right when that was happening. And that was when I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to do my own private label because they've just kicked me off as a wholesaler. There's no Radio Shacks left, blacklisted by a lot of these places, and there's Black Friday's not for a long time. So I said, okay, well, I want something sustainable. I found all these great ways to make money. I have skills and money to start my business now. So I need to get into Amazon private label. That's when I found out about Amazon private label, and I failed a lot of my first products. But I still had these other ways of retail arbitrage on the side to make money while I was doing it. So I was basically taking my profits and then reinvesting them into opportunities. So I always took opportunities where the potential reward was going to be way higher than what I paid. That's what I've always done. Because if you lose, you didn't really lose. It takes one win to equal 100 losses, if you do it right. So that was pretty crazy. Failed my first 8 products. But then what happened was I ran into the solar eclipse glasses. And I took all the lessons that I learned from everything in the past and applied that. Then it got crazy. Throughout the years, I had progressively been finding better and better opportunities that I enjoyed more and more. And I saw the writing in the wall before Radio Shack sent that email and before I got all of this. So basically in the summer, right before 2017, so summer 2016 was when I saw, I need to get into private label. And I decided to actually go to the Canton Fair. I decided I want to learn the fastest way possible. So the largest trade show in the world is the Canton Fair. And I said, if I go to China and I just have this rapid feedback loop and just keep trying and learning, that's the fastest way to learn. And then it'll mentally commit me. And it did. And I did not find any profitable products there. I had actually gone and was looking to source some mood glasses. So essentially different colored glasses. If you want to feel a certain mood, you put it on a different color. That's the theory behind it. Anyways, wasn't able to find a good supplier, but I did get an email from one of those suppliers a couple of months later. And it was the day before I went back to China because I said, okay, I'm going to go to China again and figure this out because I'm committed to making this work. And I know that there's a huge opportunity in private label. So as we were getting ready to go on the plane, I was procrastinating late as always. We got this email and it said, hello, are you interested in solar eclipse glasses? They're very hot in the USA. Responded, said, sure. Send me some information. He never sent me any information. But I went and I looked at the opportunity, did the math. I said, this is going to be huge. It's going directly over 12 million people's houses, a total solar eclipse. So basically the sun will just go black in the middle of the day and it looks amazing. So there's 12 million people. How could you not view this if it goes over your house? And I said, it's going to be the biggest thing on social media. So I said, all my experience going to all these retail stores, they are bad at just about everything. They overstock and understock things. And I knew that there's just no way from all these experiences that I've learned they're going to stock enough. So, and that people just are going to go to Amazon for this because I'd seen that I was able to sell things for a lot higher price on Amazon than even on Radio Shack on their own website. So there were headphones that people could go and buy for $60 on Radio Shack's website, or you could buy them for $90 on Amazon. I outsold Radio Shack on Amazon compared to their website. Absolutely crazy. People just go to Amazon these days. So I said, okay, well, people are going to go to Amazon. Can I just make the best solar eclipse glasses and make $100,000? If I can make $100,000, I can now go travel and do the things that I want to do. And it turned out to be way bigger than that. But I almost didn't do it. So I knew that this was a great opportunity, but I knew I needed to get the best product and find a good supplier. And I had been failing to find good suppliers in the past. I ended up going through 50 suppliers in total, and I almost gave up. But I just kept at it. And I said, this has to be possible. People need glasses. There's got to be good ones with actual certified glasses. Right when I was about to give up, found the right supplier who actually had certified glasses. Because if you guys aren't aware, a majority of the glasses for the solar eclipse in 2017 were not certified. They were made in China, didn't have certifications or anything. And this was a huge problem, and it was a national news story. But I did the hard work and actually found and made a really good product, and it worked out amazing. And I built an entire brand around it, close to 100 different products in total, and we ended up doing $6 million in 6 months. Now, this 6 months, it's not like it was just that 6 months. So as you guys can see the whole story, I took lessons from everything that I learned previously. And then that's how I got that exponential growth. So it's not just you go up and just crush it. It's sustainable over time and you see the results. You got to not give up and you got to actually take action. So once I got one product that worked and was selling and making money, I decided to go all in. I knew that private label was possible and I got it to finally work. So I said, all right, I'm going all in on this opportunity. I ended up selling plastic glasses, telescope filters of all different sizes. We made a whole bunch of different of the paper glasses, all with the best design, because I know that everybody's going to go to Amazon and that at the end of the day, the best product is going to win if presented properly. So got the best products, grabbed all the real estate possible, and it just started to take off. Crazy. We also made goggles that were pretty, this is my favorite thing, these steampunk goggles. And then we also sold maps. We sold also stuff from my manufacturer, because essentially with my manufacturer in the USA, I was selling his products, but then making my own designs on top of that, as well as making all the other products that we made. So just completely went all in, and that's what it is. You got to build a brand over time, and then just take up all that real estate so that you, no matter which one they buy, it ends up being you. Pretty quickly, my house turned into an assembly plant. We put an ad out on Craigslist that we needed some help packaging glasses. So overall, things were going great, growing pretty quickly. It got into May, and I was doing about $1,000 a day. And if I make $100,000, I'm going to be super happy. And then it started to get hard, because we got counterfeiters, and this is where all the bad glasses started to come into play. And there were hundreds of counterfeits of my product. People will come on my listing and hijack it. So that means, just like I was doing a Radio Shack and selling for a lower price, people are coming onto my listing and selling for a lower price. But here's the thing, they weren't real products. They were fake that would actually make people go blind. And this was tough, because Amazon wouldn't take them down because I didn't have a trademark yet. Difficult. Ended up having to fight through that, and went $100,000 into debt, literally everything I had, buying and sourcing these, because I knew that it was going to be such a crazy opportunity. But then at that same time, I also broke my elbow here. You probably see I got like a nice goose egg there. Broke my elbow at the same time that I went $100,000 into debt, and then I had to get surgery on my chest. It broke all the bones in my chest. That was right when I got a whole bunch of hijackers. So when I was at the hospital, I was right before my surgery at the children's hospital. Somehow I got grandfathered into it right before the surgery on the children's computer, going past the parental controls, trying to manage my Amazon seller account. Went in, woke up, and I had to go fight with Amazon lawyers and people that were hijacking my products and potentially making people go blind after one of the most painful surgeries in the world. I could barely even move, but I just worked for about 18 hours straight, because I knew that I had no other choice. I just was $100,000 in debt, and the eclipse was coming soon. Ended up getting through that, and we have the whole story if you guys want to see it. An hour and a half. It's pretty awesome. If you guys are interested in learning more about it, we're just going over a summary here. So the link to that video is going to be down below in the description. If you guys are interested in watching that, it is long, but it's pretty epic if you ask me. Anyways, in the end, all the bad glasses ended up getting removed, because it finally came to Amazon's attention that there's a problem here, which I had been telling them for the longest time. News agencies picked up on it, and the whole country was afraid. But luckily, I was one of the only people with actual good glasses, and so that's when things really took off. And yeah, so in summary here, there's the story of the $0 to $6 million in 6 months. Okay, but like I was saying at the very beginning of this, it took 1,000 days to make the first million, then 15 days to make the next million, and then 5 days to make the next million. It was exponential growth, taking everything that I've learned previously and applying it and continuing to find better and better opportunities and grow as an entrepreneur. And so that's the way that I think that it is. It's just hard work and slow progress, but the nice thing about it is you just get better, and it just gets easier as time gets going. So if you guys enjoyed this, I hope you did. I did too. But the main takeaway here is it took me 6 years to learn all of these lessons and get that type of success. But luckily for you guys, I put everything that I know and spent a year and a half sharing everything. And I think that the success can be massively faster for other people, because if you think about it, the first 2 years, I was selling counterfeits or selling pennies and, banned, and doing these t-shirts and copyright law and trademark, these basic things that we go over in the course, and a whole bunch more that could help speed up the process for you guys, so that you don't have to go through all of those painful lessons that I learned along the way. You'll still have your own painful lessons, but you can avoid those ones that I had and find your own painful lessons, because it's not easy. It's hard work, but it can be done a lot faster and less stressful if you know what you're doing, what to look out for, and how to do it right. So that's what my goal is with all of this, to help inspire and get people to take action and to fast track their success. So if you guys made it to this point in the video, you are somebody special because you had the patience to watch through this whole thing. So I hope you enjoyed it. And if you really want to ensure your success, you got to make some form of commitment. I've gone to China. I made so many commitments along the way. And it's all about taking action, making commitments, and doing something. So if you are serious, if you send me a message on Instagram, my name is Official Brock Johnson on Instagram. You could do that. I won't be able to respond to everybody, but I will read all of them. And who knows, I might come in and pop in at some point in the future and follow up with you. So I've seen that. And the people that have done that have actually seen, like, those people are way more likely to actually be successful than the people that aren't. Because when you make a commitment, it's a lot different than if you just dabble. So I just hope to see you guys in the DMs there. And now it's time to go to the intermediate course, or to watch the full story if you are interested in that. But definitely make sure if you go on Instagram or YouTube right now to watch that, or wherever it is, you don't forget about this, all right? Because remember, it's all about taking action. And I put so much time into creating this. It'd be a shame for this to be the last time that I see you. So I wish you all the best and look forward to seeing you and talking to you in the future.